team nicely.
They picked the team, Ernie.
I want the older players because you youngsters and you Europeans don't have a shot.
I wouldn't give a damn if the NBA canceled the All-Star Weekend festivities. It's that bad.
Were you satisfied with this whole weekend, what you just saw? I got a lot of different things I'm going to get into in this video. I wanted to wait until the whole weekend was over to really get into it, just to give it a fair assessment. There's going to be a handful of clips that I show. Like, for example, when you heard in the beginning, Charles Barkley's telling Ernie we don't get to pick the teams, which I found very interesting because as I'm watching the All-Star game, the way they're marketing this whole thing, you got all three of them, Shaq, Charles Barkley, and Kenny, going at it with each other in a fun way about being the GM of the team, who picked the better squad. Chuck with the global stars, Kenny with the young stars, Shaq with the OGs. And I kept saying to myself, but I just heard Charles Barkley recently say we don't get to pick the teams, which made me think, okay, this is just another promotional marketing tool the NBA is doing, just like how they had Team LeBron versus Team Giannis and Team Steph versus Team LeBron, you know, when they were doing that in recent years. Which leads me into this Draymond Green clip that is probably going viral by now.
Oh, man.
I had to work so hard to play on Sunday night of All-Star Weekend. And because ratings are down, because the game's bad, we're bringing in rising stars. That's not a fix. When All-Stars are on the court, now it's the All-Star court. Those guys did not make the All-Star team. To be playing in the All-Star game and you did not make the All-Star team is absurd.
I actually watched the Rising Stars whole competition thing on Friday. I'm not just a casual NBA fan. I'll sit down and watch these guys who may not be on most of people's radars within basketball. But it was actually competitive. Each game that I saw, it didn't look like a three-point contest or a bunch of people just trying to dunk the basketball. I was pleasantly surprised watching, even in that tournament, they had a G League roster that was a part of it, which I found interesting because it's like the NBA is saying, all right, we know the ratings are down. We want to have more competition out there on the court. For the Rising Stars, we'll throw the G League team out there so these guys want to play hard and not lose to them. Then the winner of that tournament, which could have been a G League team since they actually won their first game to my surprise, and then they lost in the finals. Well, now it creates the situation that Draymond Green has validity to complain about when he asks, why are these Rising Stars who won their tournament on Friday coming into our main event on Sunday? This is reserved for the best of the best. And simply put, the NBA is a business. It is about the ratings, as Draymond Green said, and it's also about the fact that the players themselves don't show up and play their hardest in the NBA All-Star game. Stephen A. reported that was due to them wanting more money and they don't get a pay cut from the large profit that the NBA makes during the All-Star weekend. So the NBA said, okay, we're going to put one of these Rising Stars teams in front of you, a team that has no business being on the main stage, and we're going to force you to actually play since we know you have a lot of pride in your skill set, how hard you work to get to the point that you're at. On one hand, that is a very smart move by the NBA. Here's the bigger problem in the bigger picture. I'm watching the NBA All-Star Weekend. I'm seeing interview after interview with all these celebrities, some of them who I don't think even really know the intricacies of basketball. If you're marketing this as a huge brand and you want to get your whole business out there, putting guys on the court that the average person is not aware of, that's not good branding, period. Again, if you're a basketball junkie like me and there's not a lot of us, you're going to sit down and watch anybody who looks like they have at least some skill and they belong in the NBA. To the average person, that's not very appealing. Now let's insert this Vince Carter clip that I want to get into.
Vince,
Go ahead.
if you notice yourself, Tracy McGrady, Steve Francis, all-stars. You look at today's guys who are, I'm going to say it real, keep it real. They're scared to compete.
Yeah.
They're scared to compete in a dunk contest.
You may not win, but your brand won't be hurt if you're going out there to put on the show.
It's not a coincidence at all that Kenny brings up the players being scared to go in the dunk contest, the stars who have big aspirations for marketing, promo, and branding deals that they want. And then Vince Carter brings up the word branding again. That goes hand in hand, in my opinion. As a result, you have guys like Matt McClung, who killed the NBA dunk contest. He's been saving it literally for 3 years in a row, back to back to back. But he's barely an NBA player. He's on a G League roster. He was on the G League team that competed in the Rising Stars competition. Really, people's going on. At first, it started with a Matt McClung. Just get anybody, whether they're in the G League or not, if they're athletic, affiliated with the NBA, they can put on a show, put them out there for the average Joe. Again, not everybody is a basketball junkie. People want to see who is the last name at the back of that jersey. Now it's transitioned into the main All-Star game on Sunday night, not caring if these players are popular or not, just trying to do anything to stir up some type of competition, which, again, I'm not mad at. I'm a basketball junkie. It's just that there's not a lot of junkies out there like that. People care about the name at the back of the jersey. So I'm going to predict that eventually you're going to see people who we never heard of in the three-point contest. You may see Lethal Shooter. You may see somebody like that competed. It's probably going to turn into like one big celebrity all-star game. What I mean is you may see more people who are not in the NBA or barely in it competing on All-Star Weekend. Also, I want to point out that Jackson Davis of the Warriors, who is a really good player, and I think he has a lot of skill set that a Draymond Green may have, or he could turn into something like that, possibly, who knows. He was in the Rising Stars game, so it goes to show how disgusted Draymond Green was that even his own teammate that was sharing the court on the All-Star game, he didn't care. He let everybody have it, indirectly including him. Before I move into the skills competition and get into more details about the three-point contest, to end things off with the dunk competition itself, I do believe they've been overdoing it just a little bit with Vince Carter. I understand he's a legend. I remember coming home, seeing him dunk on Alonzo Mourning. I know what he means as NBA fans, especially with this year's All-Star Weekend being in Oakland again. Him being there 25 years ago, I just think it's losing that aura, that mystique every single time they have to heavily rely on him to promote the dunk competition. That's just my opinion, though.
He does. All right, three-point shot. Gets them all up there. Here comes that free throw. And he's going over the corner three over that stationary in the pass. Good. Here comes the shot. Well, they're playing the game here today. Okay. There's that corner three. I don't know.
The skills competition. Victor Wembanyama, Chris Paul get disqualified for not shooting the shot as a part of the course that they have to do. I kept thinking to myself, if you really want to show your skill set, obviously put on a show for the fans, wouldn't you want to prove that you could hit that shot? I understand it may be faster if you just throw the balls, chuck them really fast in the air and move on as opposed to trying to shoot. But to me, seeing what they did, it gave off the impression that we're not taking this too seriously. We're just here to have fun, and whatever happens, happens. We're not necessarily here to try to prove anything. I'm surprised Chris Paul, given how long he's been in the NBA, would have done something like that. I'm thinking he would have told Victor, now we gonna really shoot it. Let's do this the right way. Only because I can't imagine that Adam Silver was happy seeing that. Like, I could just picture in my head him watching like, yo, what are they doing?
Dan Killian with the San Francisco Chronicle. A lot of people tuning in tonight were probably hoping that they would see a sequel to what a lot of people considered the highlight of last year's All-Star game, the Sabrina and Steph shootout.
And I did speak directly to Steph and Sabrina about it. Last year was so magical, that competition, that it started to feel forced. And I think there was concern from all of us that we just weren't feeling it.
When I heard Adam Silver get asked why didn't they do the whole Steph Curry versus Sabrina three-point contest, and he just plainly said we weren't feeling it, which is a very candid answer, I thought about the sports journalist Rob Parker. He kind of went viral for these comments that you see on the screen. How can she say no when the WNBA wouldn't even be around if it wasn't for the NBA? They have subsidized that league forever. Ratings this year, right? Guess how much money the WNBA lost this past year? $50 million. And it keeps going on, his statement. My whole thing is, if the NBA has to keep relying on players who are not in the NBA to promote their biggest platform that they have, the NBA All-Star Weekend, they're in trouble, right? They shouldn't have to rely on Caitlin Clark or even a Matt LeClung or whoever. Like, it should be their own branded players. If they got the best talent in the league, that's what they got to focus on. That's where I'm going to leave it at. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you think about this whole NBA All-Star Weekend. Did you like it? And let me say this too, to end on a positive note. I did think the All-Star game itself, it was a bit more competitive. I saw Victor Wembanyama blocking shots, Jaren Jackson playing defense. So it looks like that tournament switch-up that a lot of people had issues with, maybe it actually did help for the better. We'll see if it continues. I'd love to hear your thoughts once more. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, salute for listening. Peace.